Hey, volume off.
Hey,
Hey, everybody.
we are.
Welcome to. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing you were, but you
Yeah.
sounded better saying it, so you should do it.
Welcome to episode 21, the episode where we answer some questions from Pureblind.
Yeah,
And by we, I mean Ivan.
Yeah, and by questions, I think we just mean like question.
Question.
Yeah. So, but it is a question. It's a legitimate user request. So I hope he feels satisfied. We do offer a money back guarantee, so it's perfectly without risk to call in with a question.
Mm-hmm.
And by call we mean like post. Like, don't call my phone.
If you found my phone, I would be very surprised.
Yeah, well, for one, I never answer my calls anyway, so it's literally the worst way you could get a hold of me. But also, that would be kind of weird.
Oh, I have a tangent. I got a call that said likely spam, so I'm like, okay. So I hit my screen call, and then Google does like a little blurb and makes them answer some questions, and they just hung up and they dialed again. So it came up again, likely spam. I'm like, all right. So I just hit the thing again, and then they texted me and they said, "Hello, David." I was like, "Your call came up as spam." Like, "Oh, don't worry, you're in really good hands." I'm like, well, that doesn't answer anything.
Yeah, that's very reassuring.
Oh, you're creepy spam. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I sometimes get the ones where it's like a very accented guy saying he's from Microsoft tech support, and it's like, okay, I have not owned a Microsoft product in like literal 20 years. That ain't a thing. So I don't know what you're gonna do for me. So, but I'm sure they just want to steal your shit.
Well, yeah,
that's what it's all about. But yeah, we were gonna tackle a fan request, user request. I don't know. Fan seemed like we're presuming a lot of the relationship. A gentleman, person,
an enthusiast request.
Yeah, recipient. Oh, he was enthusiastic enough to ask the request, so there's like a degree of involvement, right?
It was even a direct message.
Oh, okay. So that's like the most personal. That's usually only for dirty pictures and blackmail threats. So that's that's a level of parasocial connection where we've achieved. So if you want to introduce our question, I guess, or paraphrase it or reference it.
I will look at the question again. Let's see. First, I'll ask if we're open to topic suggestions. The answer is yes. Show's over. There we go.
Yep, we're always open. It's a good thing we got this out of the way. I felt we went through a lot of important, interesting points, perhaps a little controversial at times, but we're not afraid of saying it like it is.
Yeah, if we get banned from YouTube, this is the reason why.
Yes.
All right. So he had a follow-up question though, sassy lad.
Yeah.
He said he wouldn't mind a recap of Ivan's older games, a quick summary, and maybe some insights on the development of said game, with some tips on developing games as a bonus round.
And totally would. I think that might be something we sort of come back to, because if you followed NWG for a while, there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about, and they all kind of represent different moods and vibes. So yeah, I guess I don't want to do the whole recapping how I got into wargaming or design, because people can find that somewhere, and if you can't find it, then maybe I don't know. That's for a different time. But we can start sort of at the beginning as far as because everyone, if you have any kind of creative input, I think everyone has sat around and cooked up a little game for themselves. Maybe even when you were kids, you have some Lego dudes and you can move one tile on the carpet and you roll a die or something.
Playing 4-ups.
Yeah, you come up with your own stuff. So the start of this is actually predating Nordic Weasel games, but it's the start of what becomes game design that is not only intended to be played by people other than my hapless friends that I could browbeat into it, but which actually found an audience. That's which is Fast and Dirty. Actually, I totally spaced this when I took my notes. I'm freelancing this part.
Ooh.
Freestyling. So Fast and Dirty was a sci-fi skirmish game. It was distributed for free online, but it actually attracted a bit of an audience. For a while, it seemed like this is kind of coincided with the explosion of 15mm sci-fi. And for a while, it felt like when people were talking about 15mm sci-fi, that was one of the games that would come up sort of unprompted from people that I didn't pay to say it, alongside, well, not alongside very much, actually. Stargrunt, mostly. I think
Grunts 2?
Grunts was nowhere around it yet.
Okay.
Like we're earlier than that actually.
Ooh.
Like Chain Reaction was the brand new thing that people were talking about. Is the time I think like Defiance Vital Ground was being talked about, which I don't even know if that ever became a thing. So we're talking like pretty early. 15 millimeter was basically like ground zero games, and that was kind of it. And then a bunch of stuff started like popping up when everyone started making it, right? Like Rebel Minis come around at that time and stuff. And Fast and Dirty was kind of this. I've talked before about sometimes you start with like a vibe or an idea. Like a vibe might be that you want to make a game that's like heroic science fiction or something. That was like the idea for Mystic Space. Or it's a specific thing you want to cover, like you want to do rules for like air war in Korea or something. So then you have like a very specific thing. But in this case, it was basically like coming from a couple of mechanical ideas. That's like the third way you can kind of start. We have like and that can be riskier because if you're very set on a certain kind of mechanic, that will start like locking you into certain decisions really quickly. Like if you want to have like a dice range that's very narrow, then maybe you can't do like a huge variety. You can't do like superheroes and regular soldiers in the same game, probably. And with Fast and Dirty, it was kind of like a couple of different things. I had played some historical game where combat was like for a whole unit at a time. So you just roll once. And I thought that was really cool because I'd never seen that before. Like you could have like 8 guys and you just roll 1 die, right? But I didn't want it to be like a table lookup because that was still kind of a little stuffy. And I remember like playing the game and then multiple times rolling. It was on a D10, I think, and rolling like a 1 or a 2. And it bothered me that like the entire unit would just shoot like shit because you had, when you only make 1 die roll, it's as likely to be a perfect roll as it is to be a terrible roll, right?
Oh yeah.
So I got the idea that, oh, what if you roll 2 dice and pick the highest? Then you're going to get like, it's still like a 1 to 6 range if it's D6s, but now you're kind of like, you're going to get more results in that like 4 or 5 range. And I messed around with the dice a little bit, and that ended up like fitting really well and just like feeling like, oh, okay. So that was, so kind of the core of the entire game kind of came out of just like that dice mechanic. The second thing that was on the like very original notes, which are now like long lost, was that I was, at the time I played Stargrunt, and the idea of suppression was like really big in my head. I was like, oh, this is like a real war game, right? As opposed to all the silly games with toy soldiers. This is for real men. But the fact that it was like a thing that you like kind of had to roll for, if you've never played Stargrunt, it's just a function of like how well you roll on the squad hit roll. So you can be shot at and not get suppressed. But it was also like suppression was very like you were either suppressed and couldn't do a thing, or you were not suppressed and you just act normally. And I thought, well, I don't know that that's necessarily like how things work when you read like books and stuff. Like a lot of times it's that, you know, some dudes are like moving through like a city in like Vietnam or something, and somebody shoots at them and they all like hit the dirt, but they're not like paralyzed. Like they immediately start like trying to find the target or shooting back or finding cover, or, you know, like they're doing stuff, but they're not standing around. So the thought I had was like, what if suppression is automatic? Like if you get shot at, you hit the dirt, but it's like a more moderate level of penalty. You can still shoot back, but not as well. You can move around, but you're more restricted. And that became the core of what became the under fire mechanics. It's just kind of how it worked. So with Fast and Dirty, it was basically based around like some mechanical ideas that I really wanted to see in a game, which kind of wasn't much of a thing. There were other things in there that were more like obviously derivative. Like you had to contend with like wounded soldiers and recover them, because that was the thing in Stargrunt. And I thought that was really cool. Again, that was like a real wargaming kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there was some other stuff that was like inspired by things that I just thought were cool. But that was a case of having some mechanical, and then it fit into being kind of a military sci-fi game, because again, that's just what I was into at the time. You know, we had gone from 40K to Warzone, and then into Stargrunt. So that was kind of like the vibe I was after. I knew I wanted to, and a lot of people at the time kind of commented that, oh, okay, this feels like a reimagining of Stargrunt, but like slimmed, or a little more like streamlined.
Oh yeah.
So, which is fine. Like, and that was kind of what like caught on. Like, I remember I found some random dude. This may even have predated DeviantArt. I don't know how far that goes back, but I found some random weirdo on the internet who drew a bunch of drawings that went into the game. So for a while, it was actually like one of the few like indie games that had like illustrations. They're all like pencil drawings, but they had like a very cool vibe. They're all lost now, unfortunately. I don't know what happened to the guy, but it was one of those cool like indie moments where like one dude is typing out a game, another dude has art on like his GeoCities website or whatever, and you know, then it's just a thing. And over the years, later on, once like people started getting into it, I started getting suggestions and stuff, and a guy offered to help like lay out the game nicely, which is a skill that I have never had and still kind of don't. So he helped out. So we got 2 versions actually of like a very sort of professionally looking. If you've downloaded Fast and Dirty online, odds are this is the version you've had. If it didn't look like complete garbo. So that was, and we went through and like updated a bunch of the rules and cleaned it up and stuff going into those 2 versions.
But lost the artwork.
Yeah, well, actually, I lost that artwork as well. For that, for the so-called 3rd edition, which was the first that was like laid out and looked nice. At the time, we didn't really know what to do, so we ended up just getting photos of like normal, like real life soldiers and stuff, and putting like Photoshop filters on them.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah. That's like the first a lot of people have seen if you didn't have the super indie one. And then for the 4th version, a bunch of people in the community contributed artwork into it. So if you've seen the one that has real sci-fi art, that was all community art the fans made, which actually like in hindsight, because that's hard to do. You got to get people who are like really invested in it. And I feel like it's more difficult nowadays in a roundabout way. So it was kind of a special thing, like thinking back on it. So yeah, that was kind of the trajectory of Fast and Dirty. Now that was all done with the intention of being a free game. It was just a game that you could download, and so many people had like contributed to it, especially when people did the art, because then you can't like go charge for it, you know. So, and in the end, I kind of ended up like somewhat having done everything I wanted with it. So some British dude offered me a bit to buy the rights for it, to the name and stuff. So he has a website. You can go check it out. They put some effort into it. I keep kicking around, like reviving it on a slightly different version. But from the
dirty and fast tactical.
Yes. But it was always, I thought it was I thought I was being very clever at the time, because Fast and Dirty would abbreviate to fad. Like wargame rules always are fads. They come and go. Like what game is popular. So I thought it was like it would sort of like preempt, you know. But yeah, so that's like one way of doing the design process is, now subconsciously I knew at the time it was always going to be a sci-fi game, because that's just what I played at the time. I was just starting to get into historical gaming. So, but it was all mechanically based. Like there were mechanical ideas I wanted in order to produce like certain effects. The other thing was the morale test, because you roll 3 dice and compare each die to your morale score, and everyone thought that was copied from Chain Reaction, which is a filthy lie, because I didn't play Chain Reaction until later. It was copied from like Vampire the Masquerade, the role-playing game.
Wait, they different copy.
Yeah, it was still ripping something off, because I always liked the idea of like a dice pool, but I disliked having to count like 7 or 8 dice. So it was just, what if you only had like 3 dice? But it worked the same. You would count how many of them were, so you could like pass by 0, 1, 2, or 3 dice.
Oh yeah.
Which is exactly how Chain Reaction works. So I get like why, again, because Chain Reaction was just coming out at the same time, but it took a little bit before I played that. I didn't play it until Nuts came out.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of, I don't know if you have any like clarifying questions covering that.
Before I go into that, I will say hello to Underfluked from the Hobby Homies Discord.
Hey.
He's been catching up with our past episodes while base coding Bratman, the Skavens.
All right. That's a good thing to do.
That's a lot of things to do.
Yeah. Well, glad to have you along. Yes. Fast and Dirty is like I guess it's like the OG, because it predates Nordic Weasel games. It wasn't even like it was just had my name on it. So for the people who like remember that means you're in like the super exclusive club. Like the 5 parsecs players, like OG 5 parsecs, that's still like the next generation.
The people who said that you should play 5 parsecs though were saying it because he's the guy who did Fast and Dirty.
Yeah. That's how old it is. So when the original inspirations have kind of been forgotten again, that's how you could tell it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But time moved on, and it became time to try and like do something that could actually be sold, which would be 5 Minute Normandy. And 5 Minute Normandy actually comes out of the same sort of mechanical focus of having a dice mechanic that I wanted to do, and then building a game up around that. And in that case, it was actually a case where the dice mechanic came first, sort of in the abstract, and then what it would be best for was kind of figured out after that. So the idea I was really into at the time. So this is several years later. We're now living in Portland. And we had been playing a lot of Starground still. Had been playing a lot of Nuts in 5150 once we figured out how it actually worked. Yeah, I mean, like a lot. There were multiple people. For some reason, RPG dudes were really easy to sell on that game.
Okay.
Because everyone I knew, I didn't know anyone who was a wargamer where I lived, but I met a bunch of people who were role players and who were kind of interested, as long as they didn't have to paint nothing. So, and it just worked out. Like playing Nuts and playing 5150 was like those games just really like caught people. It was very. So I knew I wanted to make something that was like a little bit in that direction. I knew I wanted the campaign structure. This is like the original sin for Nordic Weasel games, because I knew I wanted that, like it could be played solo if you want it, but that whole like you set up the mission and you play it, you fight, and then you see what happens to your dude. So kind of like the Necromunda vibe, but like but I also wanted to be a little more involved in what was kind of out there. Like it seems silly now because like every game now comes with like event tables and stuff when you play a campaign, but that wasn't the case. Like for the most part, it wasn't. Like Necromunda doesn't have them at all, other than there's like the injury table, and there's like sometimes things can happen when you send your dudes out for money.
Yep.
Like Chain Reaction never really had them. So that was like I knew I wanted some of that stuff. And then for the combat mechanics, I had this idea of like, for some reason at the time, I was like really mad at games with dice modifiers, because I was like, I've always had like this visceral thing that if you roll like a good roll and then you add up all the shit and it turns out it's like a -1 and you missed, like that sucks ass. So I was very like, I often get like my mind set on like a specific thing that I just don't want or do want. This is why like in Weasel games, like close combat almost never lasts more than one round, because I just don't like when it does that, and therefore it usually doesn't go in the book. So I was really keen on the idea of like, what if you just didn't have modifiers? What would you have to do then? And it's like, okay, well in that case, the idea came around. What if you're just rolling the dice and you're counting 1s and 6s? Like that's the only thing that matters. I think originally I had thought about a D10, but then it became like, oh, like if it's like, oh, like 8s, 9s, and 10s are good and 1s are bad, like it's less immediate than if it's literally just 1s and 6s. Like you just roll your dice and snatch those up, and the rest don't matter.
Okay.
That was kind of the idea. And then then it followed like, okay, well, the 6s are the more serious result, the 1s are the less serious. Like if you shoot at somebody, 1s means he's wounded, 6s means he's dead. If it's a morale die, then 6s means he's broken, 1s means he like hits the dirt. And then it all kind of got built out from that. So again, it was kind of a dice mechanic. But then after we had the dice mechanic, it was kind of looking at like, okay, what does this actually like work for? And it turned out that, well, it works for something where there's a high chance of like you going to ground, hitting the dirt, so on. Maybe you're wounded, maybe not, but somebody has to like go figure it out. And it doesn't work very well for guys wearing armor. So World War II kind of came up as like the logical, the thing. And then it became 5 Minute Normandy. And then once that decision was in place, then everything else, it's like this like ladder. You start with like one thing, like the dice. And they inform like, okay, there's certain types of game that'll now work and there's certain ones that won't. And then from there, okay, if we're doing World War II, now you can start pinning it down. Like, okay, well, in that case, because it's a skirmish game, maybe it's only a squad. And if it's only a squad, you probably don't need tanks. And so like each decision you take, you more and more options get like chiseled away until you have like this very clear, hopefully, this very clear box in the end with stuff that can go in it. And once you kind of have that box of those like limitations to it, then there's a bunch of stuff you just don't have to worry. You know, you don't have to worry about like artillery rules because it's only like a squad. If they get shelled by like 105 millimeter howitzers, pack up your dudes and put them back in a box. They're all dead. You know, or it landed off table and they're fine. But
I got a question. And first I say, hello, Mini Warmuts. How you doing? See you. Are you ready to write a game? If not, keep listening. And the other thing is, how immutable would you say then your like maybe your boxed core concept would be?
Well, it turns out, this is spoilers for like the next time we do this, because it turns out that it is both hard to work with, but also kind of mutable if you needed to. So this is one of those things where you can luck into things a little bit. Sometimes designers get everything to line up perfectly because they're highly intelligent and can predict, you know, Sherlock Holmes style. If I do this, then 7 iterations later. And other times it's just blind luck. Because it turned out that because the rules were very abstract, like if a dude is down, that could mean a bunch of things. All it means in the rules is that he's not doing anything until you roll to recover. But it doesn't, like, if he's just like taking a breather, or if he got wounded, or if it bounced off his helmet or something, like it doesn't matter. He's just down. And that meant that, okay, well, in that case, that could also apply to like a squad of guys. They could be down. Like the squad is not acting right now. It doesn't mean they're all like wounded. It just means that something is going on and they're not really responding right now. And if that works, then that works for a tank or a space alien. So sometimes you can kind of luck into that the box can actually do a bunch of other things. Sometimes it doesn't. You have to force it a little bit. I think we've all had the experience of playing a game that was like very clearly like a different version of another system, and it only worked really well for the original system. Like a lot of times you'll see like people who are talking about, even with like more time, you can sometimes run into people who will say like, oh yeah, those rules were great for more time, but they were too complicated for like one like, rank and flank, or the other way around. So sometimes you can almost always adapt things a little, but there's like a limit to how far you can adapt it sometimes. You know, if your game is like really detailed, then it's difficult to scale it up. If you make a game that's like very abstract, it'll scale up very well, but maybe it doesn't scale down all that well because it's just too abstract. You need a little detail, a little crunch in there. So is that kind of what you're going for?
Yeah, basically. I like your thoughts. Have never played Stargrave. But when I think about the shooting system from like Frostgrave or Range of Shadowdeep, the opposed D20 rolls, I often wonder how that would feel in a shooting game, you know, where shooting is the focus. Because it seems a lot more, I mean, I love the diversity of the D20 opposed rolls for close combat because it gives you a chance. Like, I'm going in there, but I might die.
Versus, and it has that vibe of like, oh, my dude like parried and he got one. Like, because you both get to roll. Yeah. This is just like a vibes thing, but I never feel like real happy. I played a couple of games that had opposed rolls when shooting, and it always like doesn't feel that great. It feels weird. Like to me, if you're rolling to defend, that's like you're actively defending. So if I'm like parrying your dude, or if it's a game where we're just both rolling and we're comparing. So it's like an active thing. But for me, like shooting is like you're in a position, like you're in cover or you're lying down or whatever. And now it's a task for my dude to try and hit you. So I don't know. I've never played like ironically Starground did have because you roll for like your cover and range. I think All Tomorrow's War had kind of the same, but it always like just feels kind of weird to me. I think you can also run into, and this is maybe why it works really well in Frostgrave, because when it's like two dudes with swords, you kind of want it to be like you want your dudes to matter, but you also want it to be pretty random because like two dudes with swords, anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
Like your dude comes charging in, but he stepped on a rock and I jabbed him, even though my dude is like a drunk peasant and your dude is a cool wizard, right?
Yeah. Surprise, surprise, you did.
Yeah. So I think for like melee stuff, you kind of it's okay for it to be quite random because you want like a lot of different outcomes, and you want to have it so like the halfling can take on the vampire or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
once in a while. But for shooting, I think that can feel worse. If your dudes are in a ruined building and poking out, and then you roll the worst for defense, it just feels, to me at least, it just feels kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll admit I have not actually played Stargrave, so I don't actually know how it works.
Yeah, you have shooting in Frostgrave and just Shadowdeep, so I always imagine it works kind of like that, but I don't actually know.
Yeah. I think it works better for hand-to-hand, but I'll be curious in the comments afterwards if there's people who do like the opposed roll and they prefer that even for shooting. Leave us a comment if that's your vibe. I guess there's probably some other. There's some games where it's almost not I'm trying to think of one now where it's not a modifier, but it's also not an opposed roll. But I'm drawing a blank right now. I guess in BattleTech you just kind of roll and hit dudes. It's just based on range.
Yeah.
So there you don't.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, because BattleTech, your defense is just how many dots you have to cross off. So
checking those dots.
Yeah, I guess it's if you're moving and stuff, there's modifiers for that, so you do have a little.
Well,
but
that's
true. So it's more you choose to do something, and then that affects the attacker's rolls. I don't know. I guess it's kind of the same.
Yeah, modifiers in that way. Cover, speed.
Yeah. But yeah, so both of those were kind of just coming out of mechanical concerns, ideas. But I mentioned at the start, that's only one of the, I guess, 2 or 3 ways to start with a game. You don't have to start with the mechanics. And I think that some people, maybe it's just how you think about stuff. Because I always find dice mechanics and game mechanics really. But if you're a vibes person, that you want to make a cool, grimdark sci-fi game, because there's not enough of those on the market.
No.
Then you want to start with the vibe, and you want to because then you're making mechanics that has to fit your vibe, as opposed to doing the other way around, making some cool mechanics and then seeing what vibe they fit. So maybe you want something where characters can be wounded, so you can track how much agony they're in or something.
Oh yes.
Or you want to have critical hits so that dudes can ultra die, and that affects morale checks or something.
Oh, there's a game that has horrific death that affects morale.
Yeah.
I think it's the Turn Up or Sludge. I don't remember which one.
I was gonna say, I think one of those two has some sort of you can mega die, and it
horrifies everyone.
I've seen some old game where casualties were left on the table, and then units near them would have morale penalties, even the other side. So if you kill a bunch of dudes, but then you ran your dudes into where they were standing, they're standing in blood and guts.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was though. Yeah, it's so you have to kind of it's vibes. But if you're starting with that, you have or if you have a very strong idea of that you want to do rank and flank medieval gaming, and you want it to feel a certain movie or something, or a certain book, you can start with those. And the process is kind of the same. It's, again, you kind of climb the ladder for each thing you decide, for sure. That means you have now decided not to do a bunch of other things. If you know that you're just focusing on black powder stuff, then you can ignore a bunch of stuff about armor. You don't need rules for armor dudes for the most part. Or so every decision narrows down the number of choices and the decisions you can make. Yes, Lancelot. Oh my god.
Cat time.
Yes. Well, he's mad because it's an hour past his lunchtime.
Oh no.
And we are out of kitty food until it arrives in the mail. But that's another hour. So he's going back and forth between me up here and my wife downstairs who's at work. So he'll come in and meow angrily, and then he'll wander off to the other person who would just go back and forth. The kid had to close his door so he wouldn't circle in there.
Everyone needs to know how displeased I am with this system.
Yes. Well, and he doesn't want to eat his dry food. So he's not that desperate. But yeah, so that's kind of those two were the start, both of proper tabletop design, but also the start Nordic Weasel games. There was actually 2 other titles sort of around there, but I think we'll save those for a different episode, which was Trenchstorm, which was actually published by a real company who don't exist anymore, the Tin Dictator. and then a very early game called Strife that I did, which I think was distributed to like 20 people globally.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, that was a big deal. But it was all like by personal email, right? But it was mostly a game that I played like just with my friends. But we did play it, and we made like armies and stuff. So maybe that would be worth talking about. But that will be for a different episode, I think, because we are kind of working on a schedule today.
Yeah, that's right.
But
no time for strife.
Nope. Got to be harmonious and committed. However, Normandy then ends up being kind of the jump off point to like some new thing, because that's where the original OG 5 parsecs. If you have been around long enough for the blue cover, that's where
the oldest bat reps on YouTube were of the original 5 parsecs from home.
Yeah. There's some OG stuff, and then the generic 5 core rules and no end in sight. So that might be one of those two. Will be like the next episode we do of it, where we do this. This will be kind of, I think, a feature every like 3 or 4 episodes. So
yeah, I think it makes sense.
So, and of course, if people who are listening or who are doing stuff, if you have specific things you would like us to talk about, if you want to have a deep breakdown of how KPS came about, or why on earth nobody plays Unity Field Agent, just leave us some comments. As proven by this episode, we take requests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we don't want people to get all carried away, so we'll probably like never honor a request ever again, just to leave you like, you got to beg a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll let them build up, and then when they get to the top, then we'll grab one from the middle and keep them waiting again. So Mini Warmutt was just saying finally received his Borderlands book. Very cool.
Hey.
And he's getting into solo RPGs lately. 4 Against Darkness.
All right.
The most brutal game I played in my life.
that game was like really tough. Yeah. I was like, I have like a short anecdote for that, because I bought it and I was like really fired up to play it. And then I played it with a kid, and he was like, "No, this is stupid. I want to play this." And I was like, "Yeah, well, it was like too simple." So he didn't want to play it. Simple. Yeah. It's funny. So I never ended up playing it that much, but then like I didn't pay attention for a little bit, and then when I checked into it again, there was like 30 books and stuff, and it was like an empire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. Like a lot of people
got like adult content games.
Yeah, I saw some of them have like little
spicy.
Yeah, stickers on them. I guess you could fight like titty demons or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But it kind of fits that vibe of like, I think a lot of people are like really into that. You can just like sit with like a stack of paper and a pencil and your iPad or a print of the book or whatever, and you can just like roll dice and kind of like have an adventure, but it doesn't involve a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just on your own. Like, I think that's like a really.
Oh, I know the next meal ticket.
Oh, yeah?
You got to figure out a way to tie in your games with people's AI girlfriends.
Yeah, well,
that's the big thing.
Yeah, then she might end up like reinterpreting the rules. I was doing a test the other day because talking to somebody about like using, because there was some story about somebody who got like in a fight with their D&D group or something, because they asked like ChatGPT about the rules in D&D, but it got the rules wrong.
Oh yes.
And they were all like arguing. So I tried asking like how like a rule works in like Advanced Squad Leader. This is for Gemini, the Google one. But it was funny because it like kind of explained the rule pretty well, except like 2 errors that you would only catch if you like knew the rules pretty well.
Oh yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, this is like very accurate, especially for like a copywritten book, but that's neither here nor there. There's probably enough tutorials that it's out there. But it was just like, if I didn't like kind of know what was happening, it would sound pretty okay. But then it would do that typical AI thing where it suddenly gets like weird and vague, because it would talk about like the rallying phase always comes after the rout phase, which is not like, that's not how the turn works.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, I always thought it would be funny to but it's like not there yet, because thought, oh, what if you like asked AI to like write you a game, and then you sat down and tried to play it like exactly as it was written, but it kind of doesn't work. Like, because it's often like very vague and abstract. Like it'll be like, well, if you're needing morale checks in a game, then you could do it like this, and then maybe they run away or suffer a penalty. But that's not like how a game works. That's just like a dude telling you.
Or even if you got it to figure out the rules, it'll forget.
Yeah,
It'll start making up new rules as it goes along. It's like, come on, just have some consistency.
Yeah, the problem is that it's there's no way of like it's very difficult to like force it to be like on target. I did spend like an afternoon trying to bully it into accepting that Oregon is spelled with a K, and it was like refusing to do it.
No?
Yeah, it just would not. And it was kind of funny because it was kind of like it's easy to apply emotions to like the chatbot, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because I would ask it like, what is the list of like states on the North American West Coast, and it would list including, and I would say like Oregon with a K, and it would list them all, but spell it right. And then I would say, I didn't ask for Oregon with a G, I asked for Oregon with a K. And like, well, if that was a state, then it would be on the West Coast, but it's not. So it's very kind of
sassy.
Yeah, I was getting kind of snippy. Then finally, it just started ignoring me. Like, like I'm not going to play your stupid game.
Come on.
Yeah. Warmod says, check out Alone Against Fear. It's a horror solo RPG. He's going to play it for Halloween. That sounds pretty fun, actually.
Yeah. Now, if only AI girlfriends could play it with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Living the good life.
Maybe
if your AI girlfriend could play ASL, then technology is there.
Yeah. You might need like a spooky, like goth AI girlfriend. I'm sure that's an option. Yeah, there was one book I saw. It was like, you might remember it because it was a couple years ago, and I know we talked about it on the Discord. It was like I think it was like a horror minis game, but it was also like a choose your own adventure book. So you would like make choices and like go to paragraph or section 14, and then some of those results would have like a tabletop battle. I don't remember what it was called though, and it seemed to kind of come and go, and nobody remembers.
That sounds like a Jason thing to me.
It might have been. I don't remember.
Well, if Jason ever pops up, he should tell us.
Yeah, I don't think it was him, but it was cool. It was one of those things that's like, oh, that's such a great idea, and then nobody else did it again.
I imagine it's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, even I remember as a kid, I tried to make my own little like fighting fantasy like stories with like even just not doing like 100 paragraphs is like a ton of work because you have to like map them all out, and you will 100% like screw it up. I'm sure they're asked for it because it's like if you take the magic potion and that go to paragraph 35. Well, now you can't use 35 for anything else. Yeah, but you also have to make sure that like 35 like leads back to where you're supposed to be, and you don't like skip a room or something. And you have to make sure the choices like are rational. Like I remember when we played Lone Wolf on the Discord many years ago. I think even before COVID. And like book two has this thing where there's like a specific item you start with and it can be stolen from you. And if you lose the item, you cannot complete the book. And you find like the dude who stole it in a bar. And if you go to talk to the bartender first, you now lose the ability to get the item back, even though it's like the most logical option. So yeah, it's a ton of work to do those, but it is very cool. The other thing is you can't make it like too simple because if it's only like 10 paragraphs, people can figure it out immediately just by looking at it. Like, so it is something I would love to do. I would love to do like a Lone Wolf book or something, maybe like set in unified space. Let's see if I can talk the overlords into that.
Well, I think a good AI engine could actually help with that. Like I've heard that people use the AI engines to like load up their lore and then reference it back if they forget how things work.
There are ways to like train it on specific texts and stuff, and then it'll work within that. But it's machine also learning. Like like there are ways to like I've messed with it a little bit where I would ask it for like scenario ideas for like RPGs, and some of them are like not bad. You could probably do the same for like war game scenarios. Now like it's also like like coming up with a scenario idea is not something that's like difficult for me, so that doesn't help. But it's like cool that it exists. If you're just like sitting and you're not really sure, or if you want to be surprised because it's something you didn't come up with yourself. Like if you're solo gaming, that's like way. Like I see a lot of people who talk about they'll use like Chat GPT or whatever to like they'll describe like the basic situation, and then it'll have the AI like come up with extra stuff because then it's not things you created, and that makes it you get a little bit of a surprise or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I usually play with it when I'm bored, like camping or on a trip.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's fun just to like mess around with it, see if you can just say like absurd things. I see online like people like argue with the AI or whatever. It's like you know pointless. It's not real, right? Like it's just
you are just arguing with the internet.
Yeah, I mean, you could go on Reddit and argue with people. See some. I saw earlier today somebody who got like in a fury. There was like 100 post like argument between like one person who said that a story has to be things that aren't real. Like if it's something that actually happened, then it's not a story. And then like everyone was having it out like a knife point over that. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. But you guys certainly had a go at it.
Mini Mormut is saying he's going to add a hex crawl when he plays Borderlands.
Yeah, so I'll admit, I'll say this here so that everyone can like forget about it later. But the reason that there aren't hex crawls in, even though it's such an obvious thing to have, is that at the time I was really sick of like how every OSR RPG thing was getting a hex crawl. So I specifically did not want to do hexes. However, I've gotten over that, and at some point there would probably be like a hex crawl for something. Where it would fit like an exploration kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the reason there's no hexes.
Yeah. And F7453 can confirm the existence of goth AI girlfriends. Don't ask. Right. I assume that F7453 is a goth girlfriend AI.
That could be. That would be why they know that they exist.
But we're not asking, so don't worry.
Yeah. That would be rude.
Yes. Okay, we had a pretty good tangent there.
Yeah, the goth AI girlfriend sort of left the room, like deflated a little bit. Like, where can you where can you go from there?
Yeah,
you know. But you have to be careful with that because maybe she wants your bitcoins.
Oh, yeah, could want bitcoins.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Did we have anything left?
No, that was kind of the gist of it. I guess it was. We'll have to have our highly devoted fan like pipe in this and let us know, or anyone else in the comments really, if for this kind of episode where it's like a retrospective of the game, is that like what you want? Do you want like mostly the design aspects of it? Do you want like maybe for the next time when we talk about, we can then talk a little bit about like what happens after you release the game and kind of like interacting with people and responses and stuff. So let us know. Is this something you're interested in getting more of? And if you are, was this the format for it? Would you like it to be more like questions and answers, or would you like it to be more like something else?
Yeah. Mini Warmut does have, well, it's not a question.
Hey.
It's a couple exclamation points, but does lead me to a question. So he said, dude, I will get your dungeon scum, and I see you have some generators too. So as a tangent, off the top of your head, which Nordic Weasel titles do you think would play nicely with other ones? So I see that Mini Warmut wants to use some dungeon scum to generate some content for 5 Leagues from Borderlands, most likely.
Yeah, and a lot of people have mixed up like Starport scum and 5 parsecs for that kind of thing. Especially if you want to like step outside of just the strict miniatures thing and you want to like add a little more to it. Like Starport scum has a lot of like kind of RPG tools that you can use to like flesh in some of those things. Like if you're doing fantasy stuff, the Usurper RPG has like a ton of random generation, city generation, generating like dungeon parameters and stuff, character events, and they are very partially because some of them were created independently, not as part of that game. So they're very easy to adapt. So if you want to fill in like a community or fill in a character background or something, Usurper will do a really easy job of that. And most of those systems are very like standalone. You can just pick out one to use here and there. I suspect more people have bought it for that than have just actually sat down and played the game.
And if you want spicy romance outside of your chat girlfriend, your AI goth girlfriend, you can always pick up Weasel Tech.
Absolutely. And you can get the AI to detail what does happen in between things. So yeah, I've gotten exactly one email from a guy who was playing that game. He was like, but he wrote me. He was like, I never decided if my characters were gay or not. So I was like, well, now's the time to figure it out, man.
Everyone's figuring it out all at once.
Yeah. Maybe Maybe
ask ChatGPT. Maybe they know.
They
Explain the situation.
Yeah, maybe in the future that's not even a thing. Like, there's just like one gender, and they don't even understand what that means. Like, they don't have to be humans; they could be like aliens.
Could be anything.
You know,
Probably
like the dudes in Macros are humans, but I don't even know. Are the dudes in like Gundam, are they humans, or are they like not from Earth?
There's almost never aliens in Gundam.
Yeah, but like if they are like alien humans, you know, or if they are actually like from Earth, I don't remember. It's been a long
there's the new
time.
types. New types are just better people. They
went to space.
Right. Now they're better.
Mini Warmut asks, does your server include mostly older generators? It includes a lot of stuff that was on an old blog I had done. But yeah, if you want like a collection of generators for like fantasy stuff, your server has a whole boatload of them. There's a lot of like random event tables, including like domain level and like character level. There's a bunch of stuff for generating like not room by room dungeons, but like dungeon like conditions. There's a random monster generator. There's a bunch of stuff in there. So if you're looking for like that kind of randomly rolled fantasy content, your server is like that's where you should go. Yeah, more so than Dungeon Scum, I would say. Dungeon Scum is a little more limited because it was more aimed at like being game mastered.
Game mastering.
Yeah. So you may have to look on Drive-Thru RPG for that. I don't remember if it's cross-posted to Wargaming Vault. I tried to take it very seriously with which games go where, but then I see like Vampire the Masquerade gets posted to Wargaming Vault. It's like, oh, fuck, why am I caring? I know they actually tried to like cut it down. The problem is that because RPG books sell like 10 times as much, so they will just automatically drown out like all the top seller lists if they are allowed to cross-post to Wargaming Vault.
If I have to buy a war game from Drive-Thru RPG, I feel displeased.
Yeah,
like I don't want to.
No, it feels wrong. Even though now the like ratings are technically the same across both.
Oh, crazy!
So yeah. It is technically the same like behind the scenes, but I actually haven't looked in a while and see if you've reached the dizzying heights at the top of the like metal chain.
What is it, Electrum?
The absolute highest is Adamantine, which is like 10 books. Actually, we'll play a quick game. One of them is like a 3D print, and one is a dungeon set. So there are 7 games that are in the absolute highest category on Wargaming Vault. So can you guess what those 7 games might be?
All variations of ASL.
No, actually, these outdo ASL. ASL 5 parsecs of both mithril. We've made it to the top of the mountain, but there's like one little hill that even the mighty ASL cannot climb.
Dang.
So, if you had to guess, what are the best, absolute all-time best-selling minis games on Wargaming Vault?
Minis games, huh?
Yep, they are all legitimate. Well, they're minis enough.
Minis enough.
Yeah. Okay, I will give you a hint that one of them is a YouTube game.
A YouTube game?
Yeah.
Oh, probably the Snarling Badger Studios people.
You're gonna have to give me titles. I don't remember who makes anything.
Reign in Hell.
Yes, Reign in Hell is one of them.
Space Station Zero
is 2 of them.
Death Wizards.
No, actually.
Oh,
that one is right under. That's in the
right.
They're slumming it down with parsecs and ASL.
Oh yeah.
But there's one more in that kind of vein. Although I don't think it was a YouTube game, but it was big with YouTubers.
Okay.
So Space Weirdos is on there.
Oh, Space Weirdos, yeah.
And then it's Rangers 4 Against Darkness, which is not a minis game, so that's bullshit. And BattleTech. Which, I mean...
Just BattleTech? Like all?
It's a Total Warfare, specifically.
Oh, Total War. Okay, yeah.
So, which I wonder is... Oh, because, like, I don't even know if you can buy a PDF with just, like, the regular rules. So that makes sense.
I'm not sure. Yeah, you could get Alpha Strike and stuff, though.
Yeah. Once you get down into the mithril tier, then you start getting parsecs, ASL, Sword Weirdos. Maybe it came out later. I don't know. Death Wizards, Grimdark Future Advanced. Alpha Strike sits down there. Grunts is still in there. Oh, Grimdark Future is in the top tier as well. So that's the games that have like sold the most of anything. So once you're down the platinum tier, then you start getting like a lot of stuff.
If you had been able to consolidate 5 parsecs through the whole process, though, It might have made it up to adamantium.
That would have popped in another like 2,000 copies or so. That might have. I forget where the tiers are, and I don't see like the exact sales numbers for the BIFcast stuff. But yeah, that could have pushed us up. The original 5-core is down in the like platinum tier, so that's not bad.
No, not bad.
Yeah, that's like in the 3. I forget what the tiers are, but that's like 3,000 or 4,000 copies. So I think the tier is like 2,500 or something. If you want to be a little depressed, you can add up like the percentage of all the categories, and I think it's something like 70% of items like never reach the copper tier, which I think is 50 copies. So
oh yeah,
most things you see on drive-thru or Wargaming Vault fail to reach 50 copies. Now, it might not be your goal to sell 50 copies in that case. Who gives a shit? Like, maybe you just wanted to do it and say you did it, or you wanted it to be like available for your friends or something. And that's fine. Like, you don't have to be in it to make money. But if you are in to make money, just like you gotta just stand out a little bit.
Next month's episode: how to be okay with a copper seller.
Yeah, actually, maybe we should do like a business episode. Just to,
business. Yeah.
Sometimes people are curious about that kind of stuff. We can kind of talk about when is it worth selling out. I was preparing something last night. I was like, you know what? I need a game that's a little bit of a cash grab, but which also has some soul.
Yeah. Many more months requesting physical books. People love physical books.
Yeah. So the problem is when you're doing it indie, it has to be done like POD. Basically, and
it's a whole new process.
Yeah, well, for one, the prices are going up because everything is going up, and two, the problem you run into is that when it's something that you are planning on like doing updates to or corrections or something, it's difficult to like commit to a time when like you're gonna do like a print version. So it's something I keep like looking at, but it's a little tricky. Also, things that are laid out for like screen and laid out for print are not the same thing.
Yeah, if you ever want to listen to more of that process, I would recommend the Snarlcast, which is done by Snarling Badger Studios. They talk about just how different it is to actually make a physical copy versus just putting out your PDF, and so that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother level of considerations, and a lot of those are far easier if you account for them in advance than if you do your thing and then have to account for it backwards. Even things like art selection can differ depending on what you're doing. So, but yeah, I do hear it. It's just a little difficult right now.
If what you're doing is both working and taking up most of your time, then this new thing is not so easy.
Yeah. Well, there's also the like perpetual problem of like you can have a wide range of like how busy you are when you're one dude, or now like 1.5 dude. But like you reach a point where you're kind of like all accounted for. Like one of the things I want to do for years is being able to work with people to help them get published and take a little cut from helping them like lay out and get going and stuff like that. But the problem is that doing all that work is almost as time consuming as if you're just writing the game yourself.
Yeah.
From the start. So you get to this point where like you have a lot of freedom and agility, as the corporates would say, if you're a one-man outfit, but you also have like very clear limitations. It's the same reason that like people, not as much anymore, I guess it's passable now, but like people will sometimes complain that like the layout isn't fantastic for the indie stuff. I'm like, yeah, it isn't, because I paid $0 to have it done. I did it. So, if I can get it usable, that is fine. And that's what you get for that. If I have to pay like $500 to get a 100-page rulebook laid out, the rulebook is going to cost more if I'm only selling like 100 copies of it.
And in perspective, like Uncle Adam and Vince Ventrella, the Snarling Badger Studios, spend a whole year on one game.
Well, that's the other thing.
It's 1 year, one game.
Right, so you have to account as well. Like now, I don't know the number of copies they have exactly. So like Rain in Hell, it obviously so like fantastically well. It popped up everywhere, right? But you also have to look at: are you spending a year to do that and sell that, and then you get X number of sales, right? For each week you have spent on work on that game, you get whatever 10 sales, versus a game that has a quicker turnaround. And again, it also depends if you're working full time, if you're working on the side, whatever. Like, I'm not saying any specific thing, but could you make 3 games in the same amount of time and they each sell a third? Like, those two are identical. in terms of like what you got back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And if it's not your passion to begin with, like Uncle Adam's passion is layout. He went to school for layout. He loves layout. That's what he wants to do.
So there may be a specific part of that you like for him. And I don't know if he laid out that book himself. He very well might have.
Mm-hmm.
But if he did, then that's great because that's the thing he can do. But if you have like no ability whatsoever to like do that, then either you have to learn and do it poorly, or do it good enough, or you have to pay somebody to do it, and none of that comes cheap.
No.
So it's the same with art. Like people, like everyone agrees that like the 5 parsecs, 5 leagues looks gorgeous. But like I also have the receipt somewhere for what that art cost. And
framed on the wall.
yeah, that shit is expensive. You can sometimes get friendship prizes. You can get somebody, you find somebody who lives in like Indonesia or something, and you can pay them what is a good wage for them, and you can get some nice art. Or you can find somebody who's willing to like work for pretty cheap, but like it's not going to be that cheap. If you're going on Fiverr for like your game art, it's going to look like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can learn to draw yourself.
Yeah.
Get Procreate and an iPad, and you can make stuff yourself too. Like I've always wanted to do like a game that was like just one person like pencil drawing or pencil sketching the whole thing. Like it was kind of like a old school like homebrew thing. But yeah, like all of those things come with costs, and there's the added thing on top of that okay, so I go get all the art and I pay a dude to lay it all out professionally, and it looks gorgeous and beautiful. Well, guess what? Like half a year later, it turns out that like the way that morale worked was kind of bad, and people come up with a much cooler option, and we want to put that in the book. But guess what? I can't work with those files. I don't know how to do it. And the dude who did it back then has moved to Paraguay and is not reachable anymore. And you may or may not like have the files, whatever. Like there's just 10,000 different things that stack up really, really quickly. And I've always tried to strike this balance between being really, really risk averse and also being able to take chances on things. But I prefer to take chances on things that doesn't cost like $500 or $1,000 out of pocket.
Yes.
So, which again, like some people are, like you look at like Black Oath Games, and the stuff he does is fucking gorgeous. But he is also required to like kickstart all of that stuff, because otherwise you're putting out like $3,000 for all that beautiful full color art like out of pocket up front. That's not viable if you are working for a living, right? And you don't have like a corporate like budget. But yeah, so that was a little bit of a rant. There's a lot more in that. I could talk forever about that. I think a lot of people might have one episode like that, so we'll get there. But I think clock might also be running out because I think you have to go do a thing.
I'll have to wrap up things soon. Pick up my kid from her first day of school. Hey. My daughter's art is exponentially getting better, faster. It's really accelerating. Now she's going to art school too, so
Does she really have like the book for it? Like she wants to
maybe she'll be my little art generator. Woo.
Yeah, that's the big bucks. Get her into doing like furry art. That's where all the money is.
Yeah.
Well, with the kids too, it's like because there's like they do it because they like it, and then there's like some kids who like consciously want to like get better and improve, and like those are both cool, but sometimes it's like you want to let them just like be kids and have fun and do stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But you also want to encourage them, like if they really do want to improve, maybe have you gotten her like books on like drawing or stuff? Or I don't know if kids read books anymore.
I don't know either. They just watch videos. So
yeah. There's probably like some dude on YouTube just explaining all of it, like on composition and stuff.
Right now she's playing with a program called Flip-a-Clip. So it says animation. So, but she's not using it for animation yet. She's using it to just draw different layers, and then she'll layer them all together and stuff. So I just want to let her keep exploring, see where she goes.
Yeah. What does he draw on?
Tablet.
Like iPad or Android?
Chromebook.
Oh, okay.
Has like a stylus on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say if she had an iPad, I would recommend getting her a copy of Procreate because it's not that expensive, and it's like it scales from like you can pick it up really easy, but it's really scales up to like professional level too. Like so, it's like super super flexible.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I think she'll be using the iPads more this year as well. I think their school uses iPads more than Chromebooks. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And at the end of the year, they usually sell off the old ones, so maybe we'll grab one to see.
And you can get like the little pencil, which is like made of space magic. Those things are so cool.
Yeah. She's super stubborn about like replacing technology, though. She still wants to
Okay.
use like the oldest tablet she has. She's like, I don't want a new tablet. I just want to
Yeah.
keep using it until it's dead. Then she complains. It's like, well,
Ah.
it's because it's dying. I don't know how it lasted 8 years, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you really like how it works, I always run like computers like into the ground, basically.
Yeah. But a computer's not a tablet. Tablets were never meant to do 8 years.
Oh,
You're just making us
absolutely.
suffer at this point. Yeah, so before we take off, I'm gonna just catch up with the last little bit of chat. Yeah, Under Fluked is happy to hear your thoughts. I'm gonna be a special patron for Mini War Mutt's 5 Parsec campaign, so that's gonna be pretty awesome.
Oh, you'll be like the nasty patron.
Yeah, well, it turn into a rival if they fail the job. So don't f up, man.
Yeah.
And Alpha Wolf is Pureblind, who is thankful for fielding our questions. Missed the stream, should be at work. Gonna catch the rerun, no doubt.
Yeah, check out the rerun and let us know, either message Dave or let us know in the comments if this was what you were hoping for. And if not, like what you were kind of hoping to get out of it. Because then we'll do another one and later, and we'll adjust a little bit to what people are hoping to hear.
And I'm really super behind on getting all the audio done for the podcast and handing it over to Matthew. So I'll try to get to work on that. And maybe Pureblind will even get to listen to on his preferred podcast and medium.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about customer choice, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And for all the money these guys are paying for this content, I feel we deserve to give them only the best.
Only the best. That's right. All right. Shall we hard out?
Hard out.
Bye.
Oof. Bye.
This episode of Bad Internet Friends was streamed live on YouTube and Twitch. There is a North American-friendly live stream every second Wednesday of the month and a European-friendly live stream every fourth Monday of the month.